We live in a paradox. We have access to more information than any generation in human history, yet we may be thinking less independently than ever before. Every day, algorithms decide what you see, influencers tell you what to think, and institutions promise certainty in exchange for conformity. In this environment, the ability to think for yourself isn't just valuable, it's revolutionary. This isn't another self-help article promising easy success. This is about something more fundamental, developing the cognitive sovereignty that will serve you regardless of which career you choose, which country you live in, or what technological disruption comes next. Let's explore what independent thinking actually means and how to build it into the foundation of your life. Part 1. Question everything, including this. The illusion of knowledge. We mistake information for understanding. You can read 100 articles about climate change, economics, or nutrition, and still not truly understand any of them. Real understanding comes from questioning, from probing beneath the surface until you grasp the underlying principles. When someone gives you advice, even well-meaning advice like follow your passion or buy a house, your first instinct should be, why? Not in a dismissive way, but in a genuinely curious way. Why is this considered good advice? Under what conditions is it true? For whom does it work? What are the unstated assumptions? Who benefits from you believing this? The 5 Whys method. This technique from Toyota's manufacturing process works equally well for life decisions. When you encounter advice or conventional wisdom, ask why 5 times. Example, you should go to college. Why? Because you need a degree to get a good job. Why? Because employers require degrees. Why? Because it signals you're educated and can commit to something. Why? Because they need a filtering mechanism for candidates. Why? Because they receive too many applications to evaluate individually. Now you understand the actual mechanism. A degree is a signaling device and a filter. This opens up the real question. Are there alternative ways to signal competence and commitment? Maybe yes, maybe no, but now you're thinking rather than just accepting. Cognitive biases, your brain's built-in bugs. Your brain evolved to keep you alive on the African savanna, not to think clearly in the information age. It has systematic errors, confirmation, bias. You seek information that confirms what you already believe. If you think cryptocurrency is a scam, you'll notice every scam story. If you're a true believer, you'll notice every success story. Both people are looking at the same reality but seeing different things. Solution. Actively seek out the strongest arguments against your position. If you can't articulate the opposing view in a way that its proponents would agree with, you don't understand the issue well enough. Authority bias. We defer to experts, credentials, and confident-sounding people. But expertise in one domain doesn't transfer to others. A brilliant physicist may have terrible political opinions. A successful entrepreneur may give awful relationship advice. Solution. Evaluate arguments on their merits, not on who makes them. Ask, would this argument be compelling if a random stranger said it? Social proof. If everyone's doing something, we assume it must be right. But crowds can be catastrophically wrong, from financial bubbles to moral panics. Solution. When you notice everyone moving in one direction, that's your signal to think extra carefully, not to follow blindly. Building your BS detector. Certain phrases should trigger your skepticism. Studies show. Which studies? Who funded them? Have they been replicated? Everyone knows. Do they? How do they know it? It's just common sense. Common sense said the earth was flat. Trust the science. Science is a method of questioning, not a doctrine to trust. This time it's different. It rarely is. You'd be stupid not to. Emotional manipulation. not reasoning. None of these phrases mean the claim is wrong, but they're shortcuts around actual thinking. They deserve scrutiny. Part 2. Build real skills. The difference between credentials and competence. Our education system is largely built around credentials, certificates, degrees, and grades that supposedly prove you know something. But there's often a massive gap between having a credential and being able to actually do something valuable. Ask yourself, if all records of my education vanished tomorrow, what could I actually do that someone would pay for, or that would make the world tangibly better? This is a sobering question for many people. Years of education might leave you able to pass tests, but unable to build something physical, persuade someone through writing or speaking, solve a technical problem, create something beautiful, heal someone, grow food, fix something broken, teach someone else a valuable skill. The 4 categories of valuable skills. 1. Physical skills. In an increasingly digital world, the ability to do physical things is becoming rare and therefore valuable. Cooking real food from raw ingredients, basic construction and repair, gardening and food production, physical fitness and movement, first aid and basic medical knowledge. These skills make you resilient. Economic collapse, technological disruption, or personal financial crisis all become less threatening when you have physical competence. 2. Technical skills. Skills that allow you to create, fix, or understand complex systems. Programming and software development. Data analysis, engineering and design. Understanding how money and markets work. Scientific literacy. Not just memorizing facts, but understanding methodology. The key is depth in at least one area. Don't try to know a little about everything. Pick something and get good enough that you can solve real problems. 3. Communication skills. The ability to clarify thinking, persuade, and connect. Writing clearly. This skill alone can transform your career. Public speaking. Teaching and explaining complex ideas. Simply negotiation. Active listening. Most people are shockingly bad at communication. Even moderate skill makes you stand out dramatically. 4. Meta skills. Skills about learning and thinking itself. Learning how to learn. Critical thinking and logic. Probability and statistics. Understanding uncertainty. Systems thinking. Understanding how complex things interact. Emotional regulation and stress management. These are force multipliers. They make every other skill easier to acquire and apply. The 80-20 approach to skill building. You don't need to be world-class at everything. Focus on deep expertise in 1 to 2 areas, your unfair advantages. Competence in 3 to 5 supporting skills. Basic literacy in everything else that matters. For example, deep expertise in software development, competent at writing and public speaking, basically literate in finance, nutrition, and psychology. This combination is far more valuable than being mediocre at 10 things. The test of real skill. Can you teach it to someone else? Can you do it when stakes are high and you're stressed? Does it create actual value that someone would trade you for? If you can't answer yes to these questions, you don't really have the skill, you just have theoretical knowledge. Part 3. Protect your attention. The war for your mind. Your attention is the most valuable resource you possess. It's more valuable than your money, because it's how you spend your actual life. Every moment of attention is a moment of your existence. Entire industries exist to harvest it. Social media platforms that profit by keeping you scrolling. News organizations that profit from your outrage and fear. Advertisers who profit from making you feel inadequate. Entertainment that profits from your boredom, political movements. That profit from your tribal loyalty. They're all playing a zero-sum game with your finite consciousness. The attention economy explained. Traditional economics was about scarce physical resources. The new economy is about scarce attention. Information is abundant, overwhelmingly so. Attention is the bottleneck. Companies have discovered that engineering addictive products is wildly profitable. Variable reward schedules, like slot machines, keep you checking. Infinite scroll removes natural stopping points. Social validation, likes, follows, triggers dopamine, FOMO, fear of missing out, creates anxiety that drives checking. Algorithmic curation creates filter bubbles that feel comfortable. You are not the customer of these platforms. You are the product being sold to advertisers. The platform's job is to keep you engaged, not to improve your life. The true cost of distraction. It's not just the time spent scrolling, it's the fragmentation of your consciousness. Every interruption costs you more than the 2 minutes you spent looking at your phone. It breaks your flow state. It takes 15 to 25 minutes to return to deep focus after a distraction. If you check your phone every 20 minutes, you never reach deep focus at all. Over months and years, this creates a person who can't sustain attention on difficult problems, needs constant stimulation to avoid discomfort, has shallow understanding of complex issues, feels busy but accomplishes little, experiences high anxiety and low fulfillment. This isn't a moral failing. It's the predictable result of spending thousands of hours training your brain for distraction. Reclaiming your attention. Design your environment. Willpower is overrated. Environment design is underrated. Remove social media apps from your phone. Use desktop only with intention. Turn off all notifications except from actual humans you care about. Create physical spaces designated for focused work. Use website blockers during deep work sessions. Put your phone in another room when doing important work. Build boredom tolerance. Boredom is not an emergency. It's the natural state from which creativity and insight emerge. Practice. Waiting in lines without pulling out your phone. Sitting quietly for 5 minutes. Daily walking without podcasts or music. Letting your mind wander during mundane tasks. Your brain needs idle time to process, integrate, and create. Consume intentionally. Replace passive consumption with active engagement. Instead of scrolling news, read one long-form article deeply. Instead of watching random YouTube, choose one documentary. Instead of Twitter arguments, write your thoughts privately first. Instead of podcast binging, listen to one. Then think about it. Practice monotasking. The modern world celebrates multitasking. Neuroscience shows it's a myth. You're just rapidly switching between tasks, doing each poorly. One thing at a time, fully. Then the next thing. The 24-hour news detox. Try this experiment. Consume 0 news for 24 hours. None. No news websites, no Twitter, no news podcasts, no checking what's happening. Notice what happens. The world keeps turning. You don't actually miss anything important. If something truly matters, someone will tell you. Your anxiety likely decreases. You have more mental space for your own thoughts. Most news is entertainment disguised as information. It makes you feel informed while making you less capable of effective action. Part 4. Take uncomfortable risks while you can the diminishing window of opportunity. Right now, you have something incredibly valuable. Freedom from obligations. This window closes fast. Once you have a mortgage dependence, health issues, established career expectations, lifestyle commitments, your risk tolerance necessarily decreases. This isn't bad. It's responsible, but it means your opportunity for dramatic experiments shrinks. Understanding different types of risk, reversible versus irreversible decisions, Jeff Bezos calls these two-way doors versus one-way doors. Reversible. Take the risk quickly. Moving to a new city, you can move back. Trying a new career, you can change again. Starting a side project, you can stop. Asking someone out, life goes on either way. Irreversible. Take time. Gather information. Having children. Permanent health decisions. Burning professional bridges. Legal trouble. Young people often get this backwards, agonizing over reversible decisions while rushing into irreversible ones. The regret minimization framework. Amazon's Bezos used this when deciding to start the company. Project yourself to age 80. Look back. Which choice will you regret less? Usually the answer is, take the risk. You'll regret the things you didn't try far more than the things you tried and failed at. Failure creates stories and lessons. Not trying creates the hollow what if? Productive versus unproductive risk. Productive risks have asymmetric upside, limited downside, unlimited upside. Teach you something regardless of outcome. Expand your capabilities. Connect you with interesting people. Worst cases survivable. Unproductive risks. Symmetric or negative asymmetry. Big downside, limited upside. Teach you settle. Isolate you. Worst case is catastrophic, examples of productive risks. Starting a business. Worst case, you lose some time and money. Gain experience. Moving abroad. Worst case, you move back, having learned about another culture. Creating something public. Worst case, some embarrassment. Practice at creation. Pursuing an unconventional career. Worst case, you try something else later. Examples of unproductive risks. Gambling with money you need. Driving drunk, unprotected sex with strangers. Getting into debt for consumption, not investment. Building your risk muscle. Like physical training, risk tolerance builds gradually. Small risks. Share an unpopular opinion. Talk to strangers. Try a new activity alone. Medium risks. Apply for stretch opportunities. Travel solo. Create something public. Large risks. Career pivots. Geographic moves. Starting ventures. Each successful navigation of discomfort expands your comfort zone permanently. The safety trap. Modern society is safer than ever, which is wonderful. But we've over-applied safety thinking to domains where it doesn't serve us. Playing it safe in your career means you'll probably be okay, but probably never exceptional. Playing it safe in relationships means you'll avoid heartbreak, but probably never experience deep love. Playing it safe with ideas means you won't be wrong, but won't contribute anything new. Security is valuable, but security maximizing at age 20 to 30 is usually a mistake. This is your time to explore the adjacent possible, to find what you're capable of. Failure as information. Reframe failure. It's not a judgment on your worth. It's feedback on your approach. Every failure teaches you. What doesn't work, eliminating bad paths is valuable. Your own resilience. You survive setbacks. Empathy for others who struggle. How to iterate. Version 2.0 is informed by version 1.0's failures. The people you admire have failed far more than you have. They just kept going. Part 5. Talk to people radically different from you. Your social media feed shows you people who think like you. Your friend group probably shares your values. Your news sources confirm your worldview. This creates an illusion. You think your perspective is normal, and alternative views are crazy. But half the population disagrees with you on major issues. Are they all stupid or evil? Probably not. But they're probably operating from different information, experiences, and values, most of which you don't understand. Now, this test called the intellectual Turing test. Can you articulate opposing viewpoints so well that someone holding that view would think you agree with them? If not, you don't actually understand the issue. You understand a caricature. Try this. Pick an issue you feel strongly about. Now write the strongest possible argument for the opposite position. Not a straw man, the steel man. The version that would convince a thoughtful person. This is extraordinarily difficult. It requires genuine empathy and intellectual honesty. These are the kinds of people you should seek out. 1. Different ages. Talk to people 40 years older and 20 years younger. They inhabit different realities with different concerns. 2. Different economics. Talk to people much wealthier and much poorer than you. Money changes perspective fundamentally. 3. Different geographies. People in rural areas versus cities. Different countries. Different cultures. The assumptions you don't even know you're making become visible. 4. Different politics. Not to argue, but to understand. Why do intelligent, thoughtful people arrive at different conclusions? 5. Different religions/philosophies. Even if you're certain of your beliefs, understanding others deepens your own understanding. 6. Different careers. A farmer, a soldier, a teacher, an engineer, an artist. Each sees the world through a different lens. Now let's talk about genuine conversation. Most conversations are dueling monologues. Each person waits for their turn to talk. Real conversation is collaborative, truth-seeking. Listen to understand, not to respond. Don't formulate your reply while they're talking. Ask clarifying questions. Repeat back what you heard to confirm. Notice your emotional reactions without acting on them. Ask open questions. What led you to that view? How did you come to care about this? What am I missing? What would change your mind? Assume good faith. Most people aren't evil or stupid. They're doing their best with the information and experiences they have. Assume there's something you can learn, even from views you find abhorrent. You should separate people from positions. You can disagree completely with someone's conclusion while respecting their reasoning process and values. Humans are tribal. We evolved in small groups where in-group cooperation and out-group suspicion were survival mechanisms. This is now a bug, not a feature. Here is modern tribalism, political identity, religious identity, national identity, class identity, professional identity, fandom and lifestyle identity. These become teams, and once something is your team, you defend it reflexively. You interpret evidence tribally. You excuse your side's failures and exaggerate the other side's. Notice when you're reasoning tribally, my side good, their side bad. Deliberately expose yourself to the other side's best thinkers. Make friends across tribal lines. Hold your identities loosely. Building cross-cultural competence. If you can only thrive in one culture, one industry, one type of environment, you're fragile. Versatility comes from exposure. Here's some practical steps. Travel, especially to places unlike home, not just tourist destinations. Learn another language. It changes how you think, not just what you can say. Work in different industries. Live in different types of communities. Read history and fiction from other cultures. Each new perspective is like adding a new sense. You perceive reality with higher resolution. Part 6. Developing Sovereign Thinking. Synthesis. Let's talk about what independent thinking actually looks like. It's not contrarianism. Disagreeing for the sake of disagreeing is just reverse conformity. It's not isolation. You need input from others. You just metabolize it differently. It's not arrogance. True independent thinkers are usually humble. They know how much they don't know. Independent thinking is reasoning from first principles instead of from authority or tradition, holding beliefs tentatively and updating based on evidence, tolerating uncertainty instead of grasping for false certainty. taking responsibility for your conclusions, acting on your conclusions even when they're unpopular. First principles thinking instead of reasoning by analogy. We've always done it this way, or that's how everyone else does it. Break things down to fundamental truths and reason up from there. For example, why do you need a car? Conventional. Everyone has a car. I need to get places. Therefore, I need a car. First principles should be, I need transportation to specific places at specific times. A car provides this, but with costs. Purchase, maintenance, insurance, parking, depreciation. What's the actual need? Mobility. What are alternative ways to meet that need? Public transit, bikes, car sharing, remote work, strategic housing location. Given my actual usage patterns and total costs, what's optimal? This might still lead to buying a car, but now it's a reasoned choice, not a default assumption. If you want to think clearly, write. Writing is thinking made visible. It reveals fuzzy thinking, logical gaps, and areas where you're fooling yourself. Keep a journal not for posterity but for clarity. What am I trying to figure out? What do I actually believe and why? Where am I uncertain? What did I learn today? Where was I wrong? The pattern of articulating thoughts, examining them, and refining them builds the muscle of clear thinking. How do you know what you know? Most people never examine this. Create your own hierarchy of evidence. What sources do you trust and why? How do you evaluate conflicting claims? What level of certainty do you need before acting? How do you handle domains where you lack expertise? This doesn't mean reinventing the wheel on every question. It means having a conscious system instead of absorbing beliefs randomly. You need to learn about the practice of changing your mind. Changing your mind based on new evidence isn't weakness. It's strength. It means your beliefs are connected to reality, not just to your ego. Keep a beliefs I've changed journal. What did I used to believe? What made me change? What does this teach me about my thinking? This normalizes updating and makes you less attached to being right. The hardest part of independent thinking isn't analyzing others' arguments. It's being honest about your own motivated reasoning. Questions to ask yourself. Am I believing this because it's true or because I want it to be true? Would I accept this reasoning if it led to a conclusion I disliked? Am I seeking truth or seeking validation? What would I need to see to change my mind? Building a life, not a resume. Here's what independent thinking ultimately enables. Building a life that's yours, not one prescribed by others' expectations. This doesn't mean being selfish or ignoring wisdom. It means consciously choosing what success means to you, not what Instagram says. What work is meaningful, not what's impressive. What relationships you prioritize, not what's expected. Where you live, not where everyone else lives. How you spend your time, not how the culture defaults. Every should in your life deserves interrogation. Some shoulds are wisdom, others are expired social conventions or others' projections. Here is the conclusion, the long game. Developing independent thinking isn't a hack or a shortcut. It's a decades-long practice, but it's the practice that makes everything else possible. In a world of increasing complexity, you need to think through intricate problems. Increasing automation, rote tasks get automated, judgment becomes valuable. Increasing polarization, someone needs to think beyond tribes. Increasing uncertainty, adaptability matters more than fixed plans. The ability to think clearly, independently, and honestly is your greatest asset. This doesn't guarantee success as the world defines it. You might think independently and still fail. You might make unconventional choices that don't pan out. You might discover unpopular truths that make life harder. but you'll be living authentically. You'll be conscious. You'll understand why things happen to you rather than feeling like a passive recipient of fate. You'll have agency. And that conscious agency is what makes a life feel truly lived rather than merely endured. Don't try to do everything at once. Pick one area. This week, practice the 5 whys on one common assumption. Remove one distraction from your environment. Have one conversation with someone different from you. This month, read one book from a perspective you usually dismiss. Write 1,000 words on something you're trying to figure out. This year, take one reversible risk that scares you. Build deep competence in one valuable skill. Cultivate friendships across different perspectives. The goal isn't perfection, it's direction. Every small choice to think rather than conform, to question rather than accept, to act rather than drift, these accumulate into a life of sovereignty. You're not building a perfect life. You're building your life. And that requires thinking for yourself. Start today.